Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join me as we explore Southwest's lost historical characters, stunning desert vistas, forgotten Native American history, or tales of lost gold mines. There's always something new to discover. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to Southwest Desert, where we uncover the most fascinating forgotten tales of the American Southwest. Today, we're diving into an extraordinary story that begins where many great quests of the American Southwest started, with the Spanish search for gold. But unlike the well-known tales of Coronado and his fellow conquistadors, today's story takes us down a different path, following the remarkable journey of an unlikely Spanish noble, an Irishman named Patrick O'Donohue. Somewhere beneath the shifting sands of the Arizona desert lies one of history's most intriguing mysteries. Hidden from human eyes for almost 2 centuries, an entire Spanish mission slumbers beneath the arid wastes of the Altar Desert, along with the remains of what was once one of the most magnificent haciendas in all of the Southwest. This isn't just any lost settlement. We're talking about a mission adorned with gold, decorated with precious stones, and home to bells whose rings were said to sound like angels' voices. But before we delve into the mystery of its disappearance, let's explore how this remarkable place came to exist at all. It's a tale that takes us back to the latter half of the 18th century, when Spain's influence in the New World was beginning to wane. The Spanish crown had a problem. After years of plundering Mexico's wealth, the royal coffers were running dangerously low. The gold chests of Mexico, once overflowing with riches, were now scraping bottom. Spain needed a new source of wealth, and they needed it quickly. In response, the crown issued a sovereign decree, establishing the village of Loreto in Mexico as a base of operations for gold exploration. Enter Patrick O'Donohue, an Irish warrior whose story seems almost too colorful to be true. Yet, historical records confirm this remarkable man's existence and his incredible journey from Irish soldier to Spanish nobleman. O'Donohue had earned his reputation on the battlefields of Europe, fighting so effectively against the English that he caught the attention of the King of Spain himself. But this wasn't O'Donohue's first encounter with the New World. Before his elevation to Spanish nobility, he had served as a commandant on one of the most dangerous frontiers in the Americas, a region where the Apache's arrows made every day a fight for survival. His service was so distinguished that the King of Spain recalled him to court and bestowed upon him an extraordinary honor, adoption into Spanish nobility. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another lost Southwest story. If you would like to help support my channel and time, hit the super thanks heart icon on the bottom of the video and contribute. This is very helpful. Relax and enjoy. In a ceremony that must have been quite a sight, an Irish warrior being embraced by Spanish royalty, Patrick O'Donohue became Don Patrick O'Donohue. But the king's generosity didn't stop there. Along with his new name came a grant of 12 leagues of land in an area known as Papagueria, what we now know as northern Sonora, Mexico, and the southwestern portion of Arizona. When Don Patrick arrived at the Spanish outpost of Laredo to claim his grant, he couldn't have known that fate had more in store for him. The commander of the local garrison was struggling with the crown's demands for gold exploration. When word reached him that Don Patrick was in the village, he saw an opportunity. After all, who better to lead an expedition into dangerous territory than a man whose own land grant lay in the heart of it? That night, in the commander's quarters, a bargain was struck. Don Padric would lead an expedition into Papagueria, and in return, he would receive provisions and support to develop his grant, if he found it suitable for occupation. It was a gamble for both parties, but one that would lead to one of the most remarkable settlements in Southwest history. The expedition set out along the infamous Camino del Diablo, the Devil's Highway. This wasn't just any trail. It was a brutal path that tested the limits of human endurance. They traversed broken-backed mountains, descended into dark canyons, and finally reached Don Padric's grant. 60,000 acres of what appeared to be nothing but sand, cactus, and danger. One of Don Padric's lieutenants, surveying the harsh landscape, called out what everyone else was thinking. Only a madman would remain here. He urged ODonahue to return to Laredo and sell the grant to some power-hungry magistrate. But ODonahue saw something in this desolate landscape that others missed. "This is a land of solitude," he declared, "and solitude is something I have always desired." He named his grant the Garden of Solitude, and against all advice, decided to stay. With just a handful of servants, basic provisions, a sack of beans, some cheese, and a barrel of wine, Don Padric began the seemingly impossible task of creating a paradise in the desert. As his companions rode away, he shouted after them, "Ho amigos, do not forget to return this way and you will find my garden in bloom." What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. Using sun-dried bricks, Don Padric constructed a hacienda that would have looked at home in the finest districts of Madrid. The courtyard was worthy of Spanish nobility, and soon, through careful diplomacy and generous gifts, the hacienda became a gathering place for local Papago Native Americans. The Papago didn't come empty-handed. They brought gifts of gold from secret mines, and with each offering, the hacienda grew more magnificent. But Don Padric wasn't content with just physical beauty. He sent to Spain for his lady, and upon her arrival, the Garden of Solitude truly began to live up to its creator's vision. As word of Don Padric's success spread south to Mexico, Franciscan fathers approached him with a request, permission to establish a mission on his grant. The result was the Mission de los Quatros Evangelistas, the mission of the four evangelists, which would become one of the most opulent religious structures ever built in the West. The mission was a testament to the wealth that flowed through the Garden of Solitude. According to legend, its squat dome and ceiling were lined with sheets of gold mined by the Native Americans. Don Padric himself contributed an altar set of solid gold and adorned the statue of the Virgin with a string of green pearls. But perhaps most remarkable were the mission's bells, cast in a European foundry and blessed with tones so pure they were said to sound like angels' voices. Life in the Garden of Solitude fell into a peaceful rhythm, marked by the celestial ringing of these bells. They called the community to meals, to prayers, to celebration and reflection. Don Padric, his señora, their family, and the Papago Native Americans lived in a harmony that seemed almost too perfect to last. And indeed, it was. In 1780, the shadow of violence fell across the Garden of Solitude. The Apache natives, long enemies of both the Spanish and the Papago, had declared a war of extermination. One night, they descended upon the hacienda and mission. In a cruel twist of fate, the same patio where Don Padric had hosted countless joyous fiestas became the site of unspeakable tragedy. The Apache gathered the entire colony there, and in one night of violence, erased years of peace and prosperity. Nothing survived. What couldn't be destroyed by force was consumed by flame. The Garden of Solitude, that improbable paradise in the desert, was reduced to ashes and ruins. Time and nature conspired to hide the evidence of this tragedy. The desert winds blew sand over the ruins, desert plants took root, and gradually the Garden of Solitude disappeared beneath a cloak of earth and vegetation. For nearly 2 centuries, the location of Don Padrick's dream remained a mystery. The story might have remained forever buried if not for a chance discovery at the University of Arizona. A research worker, translating old Spanish documents, uncovered the incomplete story of Don Padrick and the mission of the 4 evangelists. This discovery led to an intriguing encounter with an old prospector who claimed to have stumbled upon something remarkable in the desert. 10 years earlier, this prospector and his pack mule had been crossing the altered desert when he tripped over something unusual, a charred beam protruding from the sand. Curious, he began digging and soon uncovered the top of an old bell covered in Latin letters. All he could make out was the name Philip and some Roman numerals. Thinking he might return later, he carefully mapped the location. When the researcher heard this story, he knew he had found someone who might have actually stood above the lost mission and its legendary wealth. Together, they ventured into the desert with the prospector's map. But the desert is a master of deception. Sandstorms can transform landmarks overnight, and despite months of searching, they never found the site again. Since then, countless treasure seekers have ventured into the altered desert, hoping to uncover the lost mission and its legendary wealth. Each expedition has ended in failure. The ruins of the Mission de los Quatros Evangelistas, the hacienda of Don Padrick, and their reputed riches remain hidden beneath the sands, waiting for the day when some fortunate soul might once again stumble upon a charred beam or a bell with Latin inscriptions. The story of Patrick O'Donoghue, the Irish warrior who became a Spanish Don, who dared to dream of paradise in the desert, remains one of Arizona's most captivating mysteries. His Garden of Solitude, though lost to time and tragedy, continues to capture the imagination of historians and treasure hunters alike. Perhaps somewhere beneath the shifting sands of the altered desert, the angel's bells still wait to ring again. This has been Southwest Desert. Join us next time for another remarkable tale from the American Southwest. Happy trails. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.